Okay. All right. Welcome, everyone, to this year's Love Poetry Celebration, coming from Benicia, California. I am Mary Susan Gast, the current Poet Laureate of Benicia, and it is my great joy and pleasure to be able to MC this event. Just to give all, I think there are about 60 people here who are taking part today, to give you all and those who are watching the video some history of the Love Poetry Contest. Why do we do this? This contest was started in 2004 by Benicia's first poet laureate, Joel Fallon, and it was based at that time on the historic Benicia love affair between Concepcion Arguello and Nikolai Razanov. Over the years, the focus has expanded. And this year, as in the previous few years, poets have written on love of family, love of friends, love of a lover, love of country, love of earth, love of an animal companion, love lost, love found, love ruined, and love sought. And until 2020, the Love Poetry Celebration was live and in person at Benicia's historic Campbell Barn. There were roses, there were chocolates. It all graced the space. And in 2021, public health concerns brought us to the Zoom venue, which has had its upside with the accessibility across time zones. And that first Zoom Love Poetry Celebration was a lot of work, a challenge to put together. And the tech crew then, which is the tech crew now, Fran Martinez, Coyne, Constance Butel, Roger Straw, together labored to figure out ways to replace the off-putting isolation of electronic communication with some warmth and some visions of roses. Still no chocolate. By 2022, we had the mechanics down and everything ran smoothly. You know, there were the usual things of, oh, you need to unmute, and, you know, all the things we've come to cherish and live with about Zoom presentations. And everything ran smoothly until a random traffic accident took down the electrical power on the west side of Benicia, and I slid off the Zoom along with several other participants. However, the redoubtable Becky Bishop-White, co-host and coordinator of submissions for the contest extraordinaire, she did not miss a beat, and she carried the program through to its conclusion. This year, we find ourselves a little uneasy because the preparations seemed so easy, and because the poems that you will hear today are so compelling, but we are willing to trust that even though it has seemed easy, today will be glorious, even though there is still no chocolate. So there we are. We were inspired this year in the Love Poetry preparations by the words of Ada Limon, the current United States Poet Laureate, who says, look, we are not unspectacular things. We've come this far. We've survived this much. What would happen if we decided to survive more, to love harder? Loving harder kind of became the motto. What can we do with that? This afternoon, we will do several things together. We'll learn a little more about this year's Love Poetry Contest. We'll meet the judges who did a valiant job of working with these excellent poems to determine some prize winners. We'll hear the announcement of the prize-winning poems. And we will indulge ourselves in the array of love poetry that has been prepared for presentation today. So I invite you to relax and enjoy what is going to be coming next. And if you have chocolates, help yourself. I want to introduce Becky Bishop-White to give us some salient and intriguing information about this year's contest.
Thank you, Mary Susan. That was a wonderful introduction and tough to top, but I will do my best with some salient points to entertain people. There were 111 entries this year, 19 of which were single entries, which meant that the vast majority of poets, 46 of you, submitted the maximum allowable 2 poems. 80% of the poets came from outside Benicia, most within California, and scattered around the greater Bay Area. Several San Francisco poets submitting. Heading north, we had submissions from Lincoln, California, east to Modesto, then crossing west and south to Sunnyvale, Half Moon Bay, Pacific Grove, and with the farthest California poet coming from San Isidro near San Diego. I'm always interested in how far the news of the contest spreads. And this year we had entries from South Carolina, New York, and the farthest flung poet hailed from London, England. So that's the news, and now you know. I think we go right into the judges' introduction.
Yes, if you would introduce the judges.
So we can do that. And the first judge is Tony Alderondo. Take it away, Tony.
Hi, thank you. It was an honor to read all these wonderful, outstanding poems about love. Each individual one took me on a journey, and it was a shared journey between me and the author and some of their families in different places around the world. Some in a dance hall, in a home, on a boat, and it was just, I mean, if this book was in an entire collection, it would absolutely be my favorite poetry book, my most favorite poetry book in the world. Yeah, it just took me, and it was intense, to say the least. I laughed and cried and laughed and cried a lot. I really had to call some friends after and share some of my heart with them. So each and every one of these poems, you guys are awesome. It was like the most difficult thing I've ever had to judge in my life. But I will tell you, I cried and cried with joy, and they were happy tears, and you guys are amazing. And I just want to say thank you for letting me be a part of this, Mary and Becky and all the authors. It was an honor to read your work, to say the least. Thank you so much for writing and sharing your art. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony. So I'm just wondering, is Paulina Barskova in the house? Has she shown up yet? One of our judges is moving today. She needs to be in her new place by the 1st of May. And so it's just bad timing. So we may have to, I might introduce her. We'll give her a little bit more time. I think I'll go into our next judge, Anara Gard, and let's hear from Anara.
Thank you. I don't think I can top what Tony said so passionately just now, other than to echo that you all made it really hard for us, really, really difficult. And it was interesting for the 3 judges to get together and each having our own take on which poems we liked the best or were most impressed by. And it took a while to come to consensus, but we did. And I'm very pleased with the results. And if we could have named, 20 winners, we could have easily named 20 winners. So thank you all.
Okay, thank you, Anara. And one last chance, paging Paulina Barskova, our 3rd judge. Fran, no sign of her?
No.
Okay. Well, let me just tell you a little bit about her. Somebody I've actually met through my work with UC Berkeley. She is a Russian poet named Polina Barskova. She was born in what today is now known as St. Petersburg, started publishing poetry at the age of 9, and her first book appeared when she was still a teenager. She told me that she's written more than 20 books, and I believe it. A lot of them are in Russian. Some have made into English translation. She has had an award-winning volume called Written in the Dark, 5 Poets in the Siege of Leningrad, and she's a scholar. Siege. And a new book, her newest book, is titled Living Pictures, in which, according to the reviewer in the New York Review of Books, she writes with caustic humor and wild invention about traumas past and present, historical and autobiographical, exploring how we cope with experiences that defy comprehension. So that's Polina Barskova for you. And I guess we'll move on to the next part of the program.
All right. And the next part of the program is to introduce the work that the judges performed in selecting award-winning poems. Constance, I believe, has a slideshow that is ready to roll. Very good. Love Poetry Awards. You see, we're bringing a little bit of the roses that have been standard as part of this celebration, if only visually. And Becky and I will announce the award and the award-winning poet. You'll see it on the screen. And then we would ask that poet to read the award-winning poem. And we will begin with the honorable mentions that are in no particular order. So the first honorable mention that we have today is One Day After Your Visit by Deborah Silverman. So Deborah, can you find that poem and read it for us? And congratulations.
Wait.
Okay, you'll need to unmute.
There we go. I'm surprised. Thank you very much. One day after your visit, no one planted at the kitchen table. The air is barren and bland. Words have vaporized into cloudy skies. It looks like rain. No one talking about gardens, about sex and poetry and politics, confiding past and present heartache. You told of the flames that ravaged your mother's home when she was very young, the seawater that took her intended when his ship sunk in combat. I now grasp why you must ask before helping yourself to coffee or pouring a glass of wine, why you whisper when profane, why your mother couldn't abide fuss or mess or unpredictability, raked away dead remnants of all pain and pining. You have left fragrant memories of a loving presence, but the chairs in which we sat hours just inches apart look strangely disarranged, sad planters askew, their dry, deficient soil growing nothing. And here comes my sunny husband, who notices I am all talked out, perceives a wilted longing, wonders if I couldn't find a friend living closer, even knowing that you are a rare flower, one of a kind.
Thank you, Deborah.
What's happened?
Not sure. Becky, were you going to announce the next honorable mention?
Yes, I am. I was just waiting for the slide to come up. I'm sorry.
Oh, I think we have to signal that.
Okay. Next we have Voice in Past Perfect Tense by Elleraine Lockey. Elleraine, are you here? There you are. Good.
Congratulations.
Uh, I don't know what to do.
Well, do you have your poem handy?
Yes, I do. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
We'd love to
I
hear it.
do. Thank you for this award. My poem is a prose poem. I chose the form because the subject of the poem encompasses 40 years. Voice in past perfect tense. His voice rode the airwaves across a crowded room, like the lyrics in Some Enchanted Evening from South Pacific. Except this was a California school function for parents. And he was one of the fathers with a voice as malted milk smooth as Frank Sinatra's. His words, "So you're from Montana too," washed up on the shore of loneliness for my home state. The bond formed a friendship for years before that voice became my husband's. A voice that DJ'd radio airwaves and sent women to dab on perfume before calling in requests. A voice that became our telephone answering machine messenger, each week shape-shifting into new entertainment for friends, family, telemarketers, and otherwise strangers. Some called just to laugh at his latest absurdity. He is on a European tour collecting antique golf balls, and I'm tattooing acorns for my latest art project. Or perhaps he is in the backyard capturing crickets for our chameleons, and I'm in Montana adopting my 27th horse. People who call now hear his last message. He will forever be hang gliding in Hungary, and I will be collecting arrowheads in Arizona. I sometimes call home just to hear it. Some others do the same. But one caller finds annoyance in the voice of a dead man. Another finds offense. Perhaps they also find fault in classic songs sung by Frank Sinatra and rewatches from Here to Eternity. Or maybe they just can't reconcile how a man with such a gift for humor could kill himself. Thank you for listening.
Oh, very good.
Thank you for that.
Thank you for that poem.
Thank you.
All right, we'll move on to the next honorable mention, which is Love Haiku by Juanita Martin.
Wow, I'm very surprised. I was not going to come because I didn't think I could make it because I was moving today. I was helping some friends from church move, and I didn't think I could make it. So I emailed Mary Susan and told her that I probably won't come because I'm going to be tired after the move and I'm just going to sleep. And she says, well, I want you to come. And I said, well, now that you said that, I'll reconsider. And I'm glad I did. This is a shock. Thank you. Love poem. Love haiku, excuse me. Naked in the deep as the water moved in and out of our silence. Thank you.
Thank you, Juanita. Glad you came.
Well, me too. Me too.
The next honorable mention is Ode to Joy by Teresa Van Woy, whose last name is misspelled on the slide.
Hi, thank you, everyone. So this is Ode to Joy with an E
Yes.
for my stepmother, who I wrote this for her memorial in February. He entered our lives in 1974, and I really don't think he knew exactly what was in store. A house full of children of different ages and size, a wee little tidbit to go along with your prize. The price of a man whom you've loved for so long, a man who needed a woman fierce and strong. And strong you were from that very first day, and strong you stayed until your 88th birthday. Suddenly, you gained a new daughter and 4 sons, which couldn't have been easy for anyone. The amount of laundry was hard to bear, but you folded each piece down to the underwear. One by one, the children grew, only to be replaced by not 1, but 2. When will this ever end, you must have thought, but a smile on your face was all I ever caught. 9 years later, you got me, a feisty 16-year-old whose friends called T. A wild one I was, undisciplined and frightened, but the mighty woman you were, my reins you did tighten. I'm taller than you, you'd so often kid. Wanna bet? I said, so 25 cents we bid. Back to back, we stood in the mirror. A 1/4 inch taller, you laughed, couldn't be any clearer. You trained me and coached me as best as you could to become a dignified lady, not one from the hood. You lent me your jewelry and sprayed your perfume, so one day I too could find myself a groom. You intercepted letters that were so mean and cruel and made me feel protected, like your precious little jewel. And from that day forward, our respect grew, yours for me and mine for you. A friendship we had, 2 little ladies, a mother and a daughter who met in the 80s. So this poem is for you, Joy, way up in heaven, to show our love for you from me, my sisters, and my brethren. Thank you.
Thank you, Teresa.
Really a lovely, lovely retrospect. Mary Susan, would you like me to handle the next introduction?
We will go ahead here. Blocks, Blueberries, and Muddy Hands by Louise Moises.
What a lovely surprise. Thank you. Blocks, blueberries, and muddy hands. A dozen wooden blocks clatter to the floor. He knocks them down for the 10th time, maybe more. Together we rebuild, stack, count, balance. His face glows with anticipation for the moment of destruction. Toy bulldozer rams the fragile pyramid. He jumps up and down, bubbles with laughter. Bored with blocks, he digs into the toy box for musical instruments, toots a horn, bangs a drum, hammers a xylophone. Dance, Grandma, he says. I spin around the living room. Faster, he says. At lunchtime, he refuses to eat. We put blueberry eyes on slices of pizza, make monkey faces with bananas and grapes. He eats everything, asks for a reward. After lunch, he shows me piles of leaf mold, home to the biggest, fattest worms. We dig them up, transfer them to the compost bin, watch them wiggle. Next, he runs in circles, leaps over stumps, rolls on the sweet-smelling grass of summer. He digs a hole, calls it a construction zone, fills it with water from the wading pool. He grins, threatens me with muddy hands. I run away from him, shake with mock fear. He jumps to his feet, chases me around the yard, squealing with delight. He's faster and more agile than me. It's easy to let myself be caught. He grabs me around the waist, shouts for all the world to hear. I love you, dancing Grandma.
Thank you. All right, we're going to announce the 3rd prize winner now, which is My Constant Wife by Dan Williams.
Thank you. Thank you, Mary Susan. thank you, the rest of you poets. These are just wonderful poems. I'm so great to be here. I'm so honored to receive this award. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Okay,
you are audible.
I have a note here that says unmute to start speaking. I wonder about that. Oh, well. All right. This poem, love being what it is, such a profound human emotion. This poem was written as a love poem for my personal muse, my constant wife. She was born on my birthday. We went to all the same schools, never jealous. Patiently, she waited my marriage out, witnessed its inevitable demise, walking in my shadow. She watched my confusions, never criticized when I stumbled. I don't know when, but gradually I came to feel her presence with me everywhere. It has been many worlds together we two have traveled upon this earth. A desirable magma of my hot dreams, or a cool wind-like voice calling to all the broken bones, telling them to rise up, knitting themselves together and walk once more. The day I die, you won't find her weeping in a chair at my bedside, concerned for a cold future, returning alone to a lonely house. No, this love unfurls beyond separation, the single vibrant leaf that never drops from the tree. When my eyes have finally closed, it is only so the two of us may continue our stroll, holding hands, sharing wonders, and especially laughing at Kansas. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Now our second prize winning poem, A Woman Tells a Story by Valerie Silfer.
Wow, I'm so shocked. Thank you. A woman tells a story. A woman tells a story about a time she couldn't sleep and got up in the middle of the night. After some time, her husband noticed she wasn't in bed and got up to find her. Her story continued, but this is the part to remember. Her husband realized she was gone and got up to find her. He felt her absence and woke up. Imagine someone feels your absence, defies sleep, gets up to find you. Imagine someone looking for you, someone who couldn't sleep not knowing where you were. Imagine someone looked, pulled you back from wherever you were, back to sleep, back to bed, to sleep, warmth. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Valerie. And now for our first prize winner, 50 Years and Counting by Louise Cantrow. I think Louise must be getting up to get her poem.
I would think so.
Thank you. I went to get my husband. I'm so sorry. And I wasn't mute. I was muted. Okay. Well, thank you. This is a lovely honor. 50 years and counting is a terzinal, which means it has a repeating pattern of lines. And I knew I wanted to get certain words in here, like friends and spark and laugh and fun, things like that. 50 years and counting. When you're 16, a ferry ride's a date. It costs so little, there are laughs and fun. The back and forth, it puts you in a state. You think this night could never be outdone. The spark is there. There's future with this guy. It costs so little, there are laughs and fun. At end of night, you find you're feeling shy. You're both so young, you know it's not the time. The spark is there. There's future with this guy. There's work and school, no time right now to climb. You waver at the edge, a careful art. You're both so young, you know it's not the time. You're friends until the time again to start. You've heard about each other through dear friends. You waver at the edge, a careful art. You see it's right with him, your life to spend. When you're 16, a ferry rides a date. You've heard about each other through dear friends. The back and forth, it puts you in a state.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So I don't think I mentioned earlier that the announcement of the awards was going to be a surprise for everyone. And I think that even though I didn't state that, it was abundantly clear from the reactions for those who had written the prize-winning poems. Again, just an exciting collection of poetry. Oh, okay. We are now going to expand the readership and hear more love poems. It's kind of become a tradition that we've started this segment of the celebration with a love poem that was written by Joel Fallon, Benicia's first poet laureate and the originator of the Love Poetry Contest. And I will read it. It was a poem that I read before I had met Joel. I read the poem and I was so taken by it. And I must admit, my first reaction was, I need to meet Carolyn, Joel's spouse. But here's the poem, and it's entitled, Perhaps Then. When all the bowls have been cracked and silver has been polished to a memory, and light has traveled twice to earth from far Antares, when fearful weapons' half-lives have expired, and tanks and guns in rusty mounds lie useless, when bodies, every molecule, have been sloughed off like snakeskin, leaving only fingerprints unchanged, perhaps then, unlikely as it seems, I may start to love you less. And that message from Joel Fallon. And I'd like now to turn to our three judges for this contest and ask if each of them would present a love poem. So Tony, would you start out?
Okay, I'm going to start off with a little bitty haiku titled "Love." Left alone again with fear that love helped conquer. Love, powerful love. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Paulina, I believe, is not here, but I do think that Becky has a poem of hers to read. Is that the case?
Yes, that is the case.
Okay.
This is obviously in translation from the original Russian. And this is an excerpt I found in the January 3rd, 2023 Poetry Northwest Review by J. Aquinas Thompson. The poem is from her book titled Air Raid. I took to spending nights at a local author's, Emily Dickinson's, either under a tree by her house or at the cemetery. Dead poets loved me back. Emily in an unwashed nightgown reeking of fish. In the beginning, I was afraid to lie down there. January, but rather warm. Then it turned out to be just fine. Ecstasy, catharsis, orgasm into the ground to keep it warm after a howl turns your insides out, tossing your guts like barnacles on a boat. How good to lie on the ground.
Thank you. Anara, do you have a poem for us?
Yes, thank you. This is from my book, Hand on My Heart. It's called Illuminations. Tonight, as I fly to you, I hover at the window, peering down over the dark land. The moon is full. It gleams on each watery surface below. Ponds, river, lakes, lit silver. And when we pass, dim to black. Like the magical hands in the fairy tale, lighting her way down the corridor, telling beauty there is no turning back. Like a necklace of fireflies, slowly winking on, then off, each signaling the next to glow. Like a beacon pulsing its steady welcome, or the signalmen on the ground, guiding the big bird home. Each light shines this way to love.
Thank you so much. And now we have the treat of opening up to a splendid list of poets who have volunteered to read a love poem today as part of this celebration. And it's a wonderful list of poets, and I'm sure it will be a wonderful collection of poems. We will begin with Diane Lee Mumi.
Thank you. And congratulations to all the winners. What wonderful poems there were. How's my sound, by the way?
Your sound is good.
Okay. I would like to read one of the poems that I sent in for this. It's a haibun, and I've put the haiku before the prose piece. Pomegranate. Beneath the peel, seed syllables, rhyming stanzas, scarlet cantata. I was trying to remember exactly what you'd said today about the pomegranate and passion, how you fashioned your words, and whether it was you or another poet in the room who'd said pomegranate was the apple in the Garden of Eden, the crowned apple. No matter, for what you said about the pomegranate was so delightfully and passionately enchanting that as soon as the reading was over, I walked to the market and there they were. I searched through the basket for one that still had its crown and found that one, bought it, brought it home. It is neither too large nor too small, and is of a perfectly imperfect lumpy roundness, lumpiness almost bursting through the blushing redness of skin, oh my, with a hint of coppery green beneath. And look, starry pointed crown surrounds a flurry of seeds. Almost too much to take in. I had to put it into a green glazed bowl where it will rest quietly while I ponder whether it could ever be eaten. Then I turned my attention back to you, who, after all, brought me to pomegranate in the first place. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next open mic poet will be Joanne Jagoda.
Hi, everyone. It's nice to see all of you, and congratulations also to the winners. My poem is entitled Winter Morning Reflections. In the stillness of a cold winter morning, before darkness is breached by dawn's first light, we lay in bed, you're still asleep. I treasure this quiet time to reflect. Old memories stream, so vibrant in my mind, like peering through a window that has just been cleaned. All haziness washed away, leaving clarity, feeling deep gratitude for the full life we have shared. My reverie broken by your too loud snores that make me cringe and smile. But that's okay. I cuddle closer to you. You pull me in like you used to. And I'm remembering back to our days of early morning passion. Your hands everywhere, our kisses deep. We locked the door and hurried before the kids got up. Now our passion rests too, quiet and cozy, content where we have landed at this point in our life journey together. Embers still burn, the eternal flame of our love that will never die out. Thank you.
And the next reader on our list is Mitchell Chernock. And are you here, Mitchell? I don't see his name on the participants list. So I think we will move on to the next reader. And if he appears, we'll call on him then.
Yeah. So the next person, we see her on the screen here, Aliza Lee Solomon.
Lovely to be here with all you wonderful poets. Family lore. This was the story I knew, as my parents repeatedly related. We were fortunate to have a relative, Tante Pepe, who owned a store and was wealthy. She put up money, affidavits, for my grandparents to get out of Nazi-controlled Europe in the nick of time. It was already the fall of 1938, and grandfather was released from Dachau to come to the US. But not only for Omama and Opapa. She furthermore arranged affidavits for 17 more relatives. She was wealthy and could do this. So when Robert R. first contacted me and introduced himself, I said, I know exactly who you are. Your grandmother was the wealthy woman who rescued my grandparents. But Cousin Bobby corrected the tall tale. I had been spoon-fed, like the other family stories, Bobemeises, with long versions referred to as the whole Megillah. His grandma Pauline, the family called her Peppy, was not wealthy. Yes, she co-owned a tobacco store, and by this time she was already a widow. To set up the affidavits, she borrowed the money from her business partner. Well, shut my mouth, ausgezeichnet, unberufen. The legend can now be revised. by the ragged, humble truth. Yes, we are fortunate to have had a rich Tante Pauline. She rescued 19 relatives, including my grandparents who arrived in New York Harbor in August of 1939. She was able to do this because, although her purse was modest, she was indeed exceedingly prosperous beyond measure, for she was blessedly gifted with a golden heart.
Thank you.
And our next poet is Kathy Dana.
Hi. I'm so happy to be part of the Love Poetry. I'm very envious of Benicia. I want Alameda to be the Love Poetry capital too.
No,
I love that. I love that. And the poem I'm going to read is, it's called If Ever. It's for Richard and Atika. And I think there are a lot of people who, the older ones of us, who probably know their story, but there's probably a lot of people that don't know their story. So here it is. If ever. If ever there were soulmates in any galaxy, in any world known or unknown, if ever there were twin flames flickering as one, if ever there was love vast and unfathomable, if ever there were seekers crossing a mystical threshold, if ever the stars aligned for two destined to meet and marry and give birth to a divine dream, a daring dream, as if poetry and dance could begin a romance, take the wild leap, take their own chance. If ever there were two beings whole in themselves who come together in sacred surrender to complement and complete one another so perfectly, they break with convention, usher in new dimension, entwining two arts into one glorious whole. If ever there were two spirits coming together in a cosmic burst of pure magnificence, if ever two lovers met under skies of undeniable grace, now each other's muse in the glow of each other's face, if ever there were two as one, if ever love at first sight were true and eternal, gifted to the world by grace of gods above, if ever you have doubted love, the story of Richard and Atika stands testament to heaven's door and showers the world with love's radiance forevermore. Thank you.
Next person at the open mic is Neil Whitman.
The title of my poem is Assignation on a Spiral Staircase, inspired by T.S. Eliot, Ash Wednesday. Please imagine the poem displayed on the page in the shape of a spiral. Each line is short, and imagine that line is a step on that staircase. Set one foot. Set one foot across the marshes and bog that border two claimants. My arrival is expected to bid my last farewell. No need to knock on the up and up. Stop at the first landing, where in total darkness, descending footsteps are heard. Who will make the first move? Her fingers cover my mouth. Hush. I begin to speak. I will speak. I ask what she wants from life. Exactly what I have, she replies. She asks me where I plan to go. North of the future, I say. Where a poet will teach us to care and not to care. Teach us to sit still. My rucksack is stuffed with your many refusals. I am a man of love and cannot cheat nor be cheated.
Thank you. And next we will hear from Thomas Stanton.
Good afternoon. Would love to thank all of you for writing love poems, and the hosts and the judges. Wonderful experience to hear it. Thank you. Title of the poem is Love Me Poem. How to make a poem as sexy as a painting. How to slide your tongue around each image, every edge of its lines. How to taste the colors, smell the paint. Even texture of the line is immutable, salty, sublime. Finding a seed is orgasmic. The whole painting a world to climb into. Close the door behind. If only a poem could do this, without slamming doors, or sealing it as a tomb. Open me, poem. Love me, poem. Just like a painting pretends to do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up is Abby Kaplan. Let's see.
I think you need to unmute.
Okay, well, thank you. Thank you for this wonderful afternoon. 48 years, the sky dark at 6 a.m. He surprises me with a Peet's coffee to help me write this poem, makes the bed. Then he dashes into the day, forgetting keys or phone or wallet or shopping list for Whole Foods, Costco, a man in need of a purse for almost 50 years. This man who made a month of watching every Hitchcock film on a rented VHS in the apartment with the popcorn ceilings and bad landlord, who called me from payphones when the word landline did not yet exist. Years of everyday adventures, misadventures, his constant optimism to my Debbie Downer, waking each morning to another happy dream of childhood, of cannonballing into a pool or smacking a baseball, laughing with his suddenly alive parents. He relates every detail, and my own dream about having arrived late to work at the hospital, patients waiting to be seen, forgetting how to write a prescription. My distress goes unheard. He's heard it all before, while he types a long email using only his index fingers. Impatient with himself, he has endless patience for others, except the slovenly backyard neighbor a few houses up who blasts his electric guitar. This is when he marches around the corner, bangs hard at the door, until the neighbor finally hears him. Later, my husband feels bad about having yelled, like the way he yelled at me through the common wall of our college co-op, annoyed by the Clancy brothers coming through my speakers. He returns and invites the neighbor for coffee, and when the man says, "I don't want to be your new best friend," I tell him, I absolutely did. Thanks.
Johanna Ely, you are next up on the list of poets.
Thank you, Mary Susan. and how wonderful to hear all these beautiful love poems. My poem is titled Kindness. The other day I watched you calm a terrified robin. It had slammed into the living room window, and when it hit, the noise was loud and hard, like someone had thrown a rock at the house. You found the bird on our front porch, hiding behind a flower pot, its eyes wide open with shock and surprise, red breast trembling. You checked on it several times, spoke to it quietly, your voice a soothing balm of tenderness. Hey, my friend, how are you? Don't worry, you'll be okay. And to my amazement, that plucky little robin took off, just flew away as if nothing had ever happened. I love how you talk to the birds and squirrels and lizards who fly and scamper and scurry around you. Like the robin, I hear the kindness in your voice, an affinity for those who speak without using any words.
Thank you. Jake Williams, do you have a poem for us?
I certainly do. This poem was generated from both a challenge and the fact that we were beyond 50 years of marriage. So it just fell together. We lived in Hawaii for about 7 years at one point. The poem is titled Kuipo, which is Hawaiian for sweetheart. Heartbeat by heartbeat, sharing our lives day by day, Sundays in August, Tuesdays in March, year by year, anniversaries past. 3, 15, 42, state by state, California, Hawaii, Arkansas, Hawaii, California. Heartbeat by heartbeat, the judgment is in, breath by breath, pledged for life. This is us, Kuipo. Thank you.
Next, we will hear from Tricia de Jesus Gutierrez.
Good afternoon, folks, and congratulations to all the winners. This poem is called Lunar Love. When I fall off to sleep, do you chase your lunar rover fingers over the dunes of my rising and falling breast and hips? Find an outcropping of draped thigh hung in satisfied abandon. Over your waist a shelter for the night. Build a base camp there if you fancy. Hoist your bright banner aloft and stake deep in my native terra. You will memorize each phase of position in arms and legs entwined. Torsos eclipsing each other, we wax and we wane one another in an ancient pattern. We adapt our rhythm, frantic rush and lulled rocking, ringing the satellites of our pelvises, celestial bodies colliding, passing. We follow the teachings of the tide, the seasons, and the moon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Nina Serrano, you're up next.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
The poems have been wonderful, beautiful. Feels so good to hear about love, love, love. This poem is written for my husband, Paul Richards. It's called Green Man. I would paint you the color of sky, the way you are to me, enfolding, containing. You are my ambience, bringing sunshine, cloud, and rain. The sprouting clover comes from you, and the many paths and ways from sorrow to happiness and strength for tomorrow. You emanate the light announcing morning, shining the possibilities of another day and unexpected sightings of birds and otters and the surprise of a turtle stopped on the road, hidden in its shell in plain view. Thank you.
Oh, our next poet will be Evie Grock.
Hello, and thank you, everyone. I couldn't help but notice how happy I am when I am among a group of poets, especially such talented ones. So thank you all. My poem is entitled Footprints of Proof. It appears in familiar places, bolstered by déjà vu. We find it in favorite cafes frequented with those we loved. It lies on roads, in countries visited together, in beds half empty, when eating a dish they claimed their favorite, on anniversary, birth, and departure dates, in photo albums, when buying a sandwich cut in half to share, encountering a fragrance they wore, watching a program enjoyed together, in the silence that follows the mention of their name. Evidence is everywhere you find grief, in places and traces where love once dwelled. Without grief, you cannot prove love existed. Without love, grief doesn't visit. Thank you.
Next to the open mic is Peter Bray. No, not around.
We'll go ahead then and call Mary Lindberg to the mic.
Thank you very much. And I also agree with Evie. It's wonderful to hear all these poems by the winners and everybody else. Everybody's a winner in this, I think. My poem is called Am I in Love? Can't stop thinking of you, looking at you, day and night, different, stunning hues of green grass, blue seas, dancing galaxies, birthing orange, red colors unseen that left their source before I was born. I feel a rush, look around. Starlight covers tree trunks in royal robes. Mountain peaks hold up an airy world. Lakes shimmer silver, mother of pearl. Rivers rub rocks, all shades of sand. Waterfalls scatter fireworks of gleaming glass. Sun dabs a new palette to rise and set. Moon invites me to waltz across the sky. If I just open my eyes, takes my breath away. Am I in love? Love is not enough, you deserve more. Spin blue and white ball, light up our universe while I bow down to kiss you, fertile earth. That's it. Yeah, she liked it.
And next up to the open mic is Claire Baker.
There we go. You had trouble with me before. How does my voice sound now?
You sound great.
I'm lost. This is what I entered in the contest. Questions in the sky. What magnetic force lures you away? We agreed to meet in a meadow, but you hail me from the sea. Sand in your eyes. Or are you weeping? Last year, when a windstorm leveled our Sierra tent, you insisted we take the risk, sleep out anyway. I cowered all night, fearing a bear's breath on my neck. Look up. A wispy cloud slowly curls into a question mark. Anxious as to your response, I need courage to ask, have we time enough to heal? I gaze at the calendar, suspended over the horizon. The pages flutter, but never turn to a freshly evolving month. Dear, what year is this? Must the truth remain elusive until we're willing to unmask? We've loved each other transcendentally, hiding nothing. So what have we to hide? Dare I ask, is love not enough? Thank you.
Gail Wasserman, you are next among the poets reading.
Okay. This is one I entered called How Am I to Know? It was inspired by a music piece by Thomas Stanton. Tom and I wrote the lyrics and he wrote inspired by his music. We've done a couple of these. And this is one about love. How am I to know? Yes, no, maybe. Yes, no, maybe. Could be, could be. I hope so, I hope so. How am I to know? How am I to know? If you're the one, if you're the one, if this will last forever. When I'm with you, I see beauty, serenity everywhere. Colors green, blue, yellow, filling the sky. Leaves dancing in the trees, dancing in the trees, dancing in the trees. Waves crashing, the sun bursting through the clouds, balloons flying in the air. Beauty and serenity everywhere. Beauty and serenity everywhere. Yes, no, yes, no. Maybe, maybe, maybe. Could be, could be. How am I to know? How am I to know you're the one, if this will last forever? But when I'm with you, I see beauty and serenity everywhere.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Suzanne Bruce.
Yeah. Hi, what a better way to spend a Sunday afternoon. Thank you to all the winners for sharing your lovely work and for hearing everybody read today. My husband's sister's husband recently passed away, and his sister called and asked me if I would write a poem for the funeral program. And so this is the poem that I wrote for Terry, in remembrance of him today. To give you a little context, they live just outside of Dallas and they have a ranch, and there's a favorite oak tree that they used to like to sit under at the ranch. Your forever ranch. Oh, how the wind taught you to dance as oak trees swayed in summer's heated air. You celebrated your love for each other, dared there could be nothing more perfect. Your devotion began 46 years ago, a blessing and a kiss sealed togetherness, whispering vows into the ear of life that as a team you could get through anything. A cherished ranch, a sacred place, glimpses flash years past as time's commanding hand waves a calm goodbye. Now in this blue-black moment of remembrance, here everything feels empty and dry. Here in the juncture of missing, yet robins still sing and a soaring smile is felt. Warmth illuminates this impassioned space. Nothing can erase precious memories. Look all around, watch in peace. His exuberant spirit reflected in the wind, in the soil, in the water, in the splendorous dancing stars.
Our next poet will be Melody Brumidis Anderson.
Okay, hi, can you all hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. This one I entered, and I'm enjoying today very much. Thank you. This was for my youngest daughter. It's called If Love Was Enough. Love is a precious thing, a gift to be shared one by one with each of our 5 children. Sometimes it works, and sometimes, more often than not, it falls back on us. I don't want to be touched and leave me alone are the responses we get from our 17-year-old child, who, despite what she says, wants love like everyone else. 2 days before Valentine's Day, an internet friend from Rhode Island calls us worried about our child. We go to our child's room, what she calls the cave, and find her in tears. No one loves me, she cries out. It's not coming out of her nose. We do, I say, speaking for myself and her other mother. Our child is in tears about her so-called internet friends. We get our child to the hospital for a 5150 mental health call with the help of her 2 older sisters. Love is everything, but if love was enough, our child would be happier. Our child came to us at 18 months, a foster child soon to be adopted, a bright child, self-trained because she did not like to be wet. After 4 older siblings, we thought she would be the easy one. Mental illness was a surprise, something we had to learn all about. Love is important, and we, the mothers, cannot give up. If our child is home from the hospital for Valentine's Day, we will surprise her with a heart-shaped box of candies. If not, we will continue to love her from afar and pray for happiness for our beloved child. We, the mothers, will do everything we can to make sure our child is safe, happy, and ever loved. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up on the open mic is Elise Kazanjian.
Hi. Yes, thank you. Am I unmuted? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you for a luminous afternoon of great poetry. I'm going to read a poem. It's a glossa, and you take 4 lines from a poet, another poet, and I took 4 lines from Alberto Rios, his poem called When Giving Is All We Have. These are the 4 lines that will repeat in my poem. It's a glossa for Ralph, who was my husband for 62 years. He died recently, so this is for Ralph. Together we are simple green. You gave me what you did not have, and I gave you what I had to give. Together, we made something greater from the difference. That's Alberto Rios's 4 lines, which will repeat in my 4 stanzas. Sunbrushed days, not darkened yet. Contours of the globe, not shattered yet. False prophets, not sanctioned yet. Topaz memories erase the blues. Together, we are simple green. You gave me galaxies of adventures to slake my thirst. Truth of dreams waking to unbridled love. Full moon nights to gleam my path. Treasured wisdom to wear as a cloak. What you did not have and I gave you. Mantra of ocean winds breezing the waves. Starbursts of orange, red, green, dazzling the sky. Twin lives, braided, rapture unbound. With you by my side, everything possible, what I had to give. Together we made a lifetime quilt, So many joys, some sorrows, winnowing despair to a minus. Yin and yang thread questions and answers. We are indestructible, chasing hope, something greater from the difference. Thank you.
Thank you. Rob Rogers is our next poet.
Well, thank you very much. It is an honor to be here and to have this opportunity to read and to share this poem with the love of my life. This is called Dire Straits. I didn't know how to say what I felt about you, but Mark Knopfler did. So when I gave that last cassette to you, I made sure to include Romeo and Juliet, which says in 6 minutes of slide guitar what I had struggled 6 months to put into words. We had always spoken to each other through music. When I said, "There's a band playing I think you'll like, come on, let's go," I was trying to say, I want to go out with you. And when I asked you to teach me to dance, I was saying, I want to be close to you. Although in fairness, I actually did want to learn how to dance. And when you listen to the song about the boy who wants to be so much cooler than he is, who knows the Juliet he loves belongs in Shakespeare and he's just a West Side Story Romeo or Tony, I guess, you knew it was your balcony he was singing about. But I lost my nerve. And when you asked me what I was trying to say with that tape, I lied and told you it was just a song. There are worse places to go for words than Dire Straits or Shakespeare for that matter. But if I had the chance again, I would tell you I love you in a voice that was all my own. Thank you.
Mary Eichbauer, you have a poem for us.
I do. Thank you, Mary Susan. Thank you, Becky, and thank you, Fran, and the Benicia Library. Congratulations, not just to the winners, but to everybody, because this has been a wonderful afternoon of poetry. And it's been really good to hear Joel Fallon remembered and mentioned at this event that he started. So the poem I'm going to read is dedicated to him. It's called Talking to the Trees. Trees are full of chi, he told us. And if you're careful, if you treat the tree with the respect it deserves, you can take a bit of that energy, not too much. And you should always give some first. As always, I was skeptical, but you believed it. Of course you did. You were the one who felt chi strike your palm when a monk tapped his own hand across the room. God wasn't your thing. Lapsed Catholics, the two of us, but when we sat together, you spun chi between your rough-used hands and passed me some. Then, one day in the park, I saw chi streaming like water off the top branches of a stately tree. Feeling a little silly, I went to it, and I gave some, and I took a little, shyly, not wanting to presume too much. Later, after you were gone, I saw this guy, his head aflame with it, and I thought how much I miss you, old friend, old tree, you old believer, you. Thank you.
And our next poet will be Maria Rosales.
Hello. Hi. Hello from Mexico. I'm going to read a different poem to the one I submitted. And it's the name of the poem is Album. In this one, you are kissing me, on Kahalu Beach. After we swam to the sandbar, our young, lean bodies wearing their smug, tight skins. Limbs entwined like mangroves, you were mapping the new ocean of my mouth. Your eyes underwater caves, mine shallow water. Navigating by the heart compass, we had not yet reached the doldrums. The wetlands were near. It's the day we had our hair permed, side by side at Ellen's salon. Your muscled brown biceps peeking from under the pink plastic poncho. Ellen hovering over us, checking the curls, catching my eye in the mirror often. Me winking back at her. He's mine. I could already say it, and isn't he fine? Ellen told us not to swim too soon afterwards. But of course, seeing the sunlight dancing on the perfect blue water, I just dove in.
Thank you.
And Roger Straw. Love to hear from you.
Hello, everyone. Beautiful, beautiful. What a gorgeous evening, in some places, day here. My poem is actually written a while ago and aptly titled A Weathering Love, Still Falling. Our weathering love is not lost, unfocused sometimes, momentarily hidden or gathered round us like Saturn's hazy rings, slowly spinning, lighting our worlds, embracing all that is unseen yet known. A weathering love, once fresh as a feathering snow, a love long ago fallen, awakened, warmed and swallowed whole, bodies and brains churned in a passionate tide of oneness, shared, enfolded, trusted, promised, savored, and yes, known. Love now spent, foolishly, lavishly, unendingly given and received, for better and worse, still spending. Love is not lost on the tendering age of our shared universe. A half-century deepened in the swirl and curl of an ocean of lapping love, and knowing still, even in these wrinkling years, the rhythmic return of tidal sweeps and the chasmic freefall of wonder and breathless devotion. Amazed, consumed we are, lost in a dazzling melt of joy and thanksgiving. Fallen, still falling, we live and love in a transcending tumble of passion and a pulsing of bonded parts and hearts, still falling.
Oh, thank you, everyone. This exploration of love has been so intimate, so complex. There's been a recurring theme of love is everything and a questioning of is love enough? Such a variety of experience, such a variety of wording, such a variety of tone, such a variety of something that is so essential to us all. And thank you all for being here and for taking part, for reading, for entering the contest, for not entering the contest, for judging the contest, for being a proponent of love. And Becky and I want to say our appreciation. And Becky, do you have something in particular to say?
Well, I hope I can say something before the ice cream truck,
Yes.
which I just heard. coming
Oh,
down,
okay, good.
interrupts everything and with his little tune that he plays. So thank you everyone for all of your submissions, for the judging, and for sharing open mic poems with us, and just thinking about the topic of love in so many different and glorious and varied ways. So much appreciated.
Indeed. And I will just toss out 2 reminders for those of you who want to participate in poetry, listening or sharing. The first Tuesday of every month, we meet by Zoom for First Tuesday Poets. You are all welcome to attend. And a date to mark on your calendars is June 25th, when if you are near Benicia, you are invited to come to the Benicia Clock Tower for a festive day looking at poetry that creates community. And our special guest will be California's Poet Laureate, Lee Herrick. So I hope to see you at any or all of those events. And with that, I send us all out into what in Northern California anyway is a beautiful sunny April afternoon. Goodbye and love to everybody.
Thank you, very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Becky.
Everybody.
Thank you, all you poets. Thank you so much.
Congratulations, everybody.
Bye.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone.